There we go. And it'll light up blue down there. And then last but not least, it's already switched on, but there's another switch here. Okay, that has to go on. So thankfully you just work from the mirror outwards. Yeah? The only one you're really interested in down here is the bottom left, Humac 2009. So this one here. Obviously. Double click. And now it'll do this sort of calibration. So you need to make sure, if I turn this so you can see. Takes a little while to fire up. Okay, so you see this screen here. So you need to make sure that that gap there is lined up with the red line. Can everybody see that? Yeah. Hit the traffic lights, so where it says start, and this will now calibrate the machine to, well, to what it thinks is 0. You have to calibrate it again in a minute, but that's the machine setting itself up. Once that's done, hit OK, and we are now essentially good to go. So once we get to this point, obviously this is the screen you'll see. You're interested in patient to start with, because you're going to have to enter all your patient details. So if you click on that, it'll bring up a big long list of everybody who's used the machine before. Now be careful in this situation, because there are data in here that we have to save. So you're not to delete anything. If anything needs deleting, you've got a result that you just didn't use or the test went wrong, email me, I will come across with you, and then I'll take that data off. So I know I'm taking the right stuff off. Do not delete anything. If it says delete, just stop what you're doing. Okay. You're going to be interested to start with in adding a new patient. So just click new. And it brings up then some patient background details. It's still showing on the screen there if I turn it.
Yeah.
So last name, then first name, and then Mr. and Mrs. You don't have to worry about that one, but just last name and first name is going to be your last name and first name as the investigator. Okay, that way we can identify which students and which subjects you use straight away. The ID will be that then your client's initials, and if it's their first test, just put a 1 after it. It's their second test, put a 2 after it, so on and so forth, if you're doing that type of thing. Once you've entered a patient, you can then do everything on their screen. So just even just putting their initials in there will be fine. And then it's their birth date, their height, their weight, their gender, their preferred side, their involved side. And down here, there's a drop-down menu for tester. Just select myself. What I will do, we might see down there is a new one that says student. And I'll add a student one that you can click on. Okay? If it's not there, just click my name as the tester. Alright? So that's how you enter a new patient. But what we'll do is we will come down.
So you do that for each new patient?
Each new person you use on here. But I'm already on there. So if you find the name, my name on there, you can double click on it. It's the same for your client then, or your subject. You'll be able to find your name, their initials, double click on it, and it'll take you in. It's really small, but you'll see it in the top left if you're on the right one. So it just says Kelly Andy up there. Once you've entered your patient, make sure that their name and their initials is up there. You can then basically suggest test, and this will bring up every protocol that's on the system. These are preset ones. You can edit them, which we will probably have to do for what you're testing, but these are the bare bones of it to work from. So, for example, hip, pronation, supination, ab and abduction, and external rotation and internal rotation is there. So we have a preset program for that, so we'll be able to do it. Yeah, no problem. It'll just take us a little while to figure out the setup. So knee, flexion extension, and then you'll see there's two or three different protocols there. One has nothing there, one says pro. So once you've chosen knee, for example, it comes up with this 60 degrees. This would be the last one that I did on here. Okay, so this isn't the what comes up initially. What you will see is you can select from a drop-down menu again what you want to do. So it comes at 60 degrees, which was last used January this year. Okay. A 3-speed protocol, which is 60, 180, 240 degrees per second. A 2-speed protocol, which is 60 or 180, so on and so forth, and they're all on there. Okay, 60 degrees. And then you've got isometric, which it does at 90, 60 and 30 degrees. So if you want to use isometric contractions, let me know and we can set it up. If your protocol isn't on there, so we'll just go 60 degrees for today, you can double click on that and now it brings up another screen. And this is where you can modify what you're doing. Okay, so you can choose, and again, the good thing about this machine, it's all stepwise. You just go through everything and make sure every box is filled, or depending on what you need, which will become evident when we do your individual protocols. So you've got CPM, continuous passive motion, which none of you are using, isometric, isotonic, isokinetic, so that's where most of you are going to be. You've then got this action one, which is concentric, for the knee, this is concentric extensors, concentric flexors. And then you've got concentric extensors, eccentric extensors. So it depends on what group you want to test, which is your main group, to which one you select. And then you've got eccentric. I'll leave it on eccentric because it allows us to use some of the other functions, but you can see some others grey out. If you go to concentric, this one gets greyed out, so you don't have to put anything in there. You can set your trial reps, so you warm them up on a bike, a rower, you run them around the track, you do whatever you do for your warm-up banded work, so on and so forth. But yeah, you can also do a trial rep on the machine.
Would you recommend them doing a trial rep as well?
Yeah. I tend to leave that at sort of 5 trial reps, and they can do a sub-maximal just to get used. Okay. Especially if they're doing an eccentric, as you'll see. Okay, because there's a timing issue about when they trigger the contraction and when the machine works with them. So it's always worth giving them 5 reps or so. You can do less than that if you want, or more than that if you want, and so that they get the movement, and therefore you will get a true test. You can set the rest period after that to anything up to 180, 300 seconds if you wanted. I tend to keep it in and around 30 seconds.
So with the trial reps, 5 on there, is it just like one trial rep? And
they do 5. They do 5 reps. So my instruction tends to be, you come out to do 5 trial reps. These are going to be sub-maximal efforts for you to get used to how the machine will move you. Okay. And then you set a rest period, and then this bottom left one here where it says set is the actual when the actual measurements will be taken. So if you're using 60 degrees per second, which is more strength based, you want lower reps, obviously. The higher the speed, more reps. The general rule of thumb. So this is set to 5 reps. Okay. And then you can rest in between sets. So you might choose to do 3 sets. That's completely up to you. But invariably, I tend to just set that about 20 or 30 seconds, because invariably what happens is you'll then turn them around to do the other leg. And you'll spend a bit of time setting them up there, so they'll get a rest period anyway, and you're swapping legs. So that rest period there doesn't really matter, unless you're doing multiple sets. Speed you can change, so you can actually change it to 75, 90, whatever you want to do. And then the very important one, this middle box here. If you've got eccentric contraction, you're going to have to put in a safety threshold, basically. And basically it will come right down to the bottom where it says over torque mode. So if they go above 50 degrees per second, the machine stops them as a safety feature. Now, majority of your subjects, all of your subjects should get over 50, because they're going to be moving at 60. But they're going to generate more than 50 newtons of force. So you can change this, and they're in red because it's to warn you that it can be changed. But you can set that Newton limit right up to 400. You're going to have to make a bit of an estimate about how strong you think your subject is. I've only ever seen one person beat 400. newtons, and that was a rugby player, and then we just couldn't measure him at that point. But the machine will warn you that you've selected high torque settings. The machine will move that subject at that force, or near to it, or allow them to get up to that force. So it's quite high. So you might want to start around 200, 250, something like that, for example. And if they trip the machine, restart the test and then just knock the torque setting up one until they don't. So it might take a little bit of playing around. Okay. Do not go right for 400. You've got to sort of gauge where the safety is. I will just set it at 400 so you see the and that torque threshold, don't worry changing, that just means they've got to generate 1 newton for the actual machine to start working. These arrangements, you don't have to worry too much about the rest of it. So your main boxes are this whole left hand side and that middle box there if you're using eccentric work. So we'll click OK. You can add a protocol. So if you're not in the drop down list, you can click add. It will bring up exactly the same layout. You just put all your settings in and then that's a protocol that you can use. You can edit this one. So by double clicking on it, you edit it naturally. And you can delete, as I say, do not delete any of the protocols, because if you delete a standard one, it's gone from everybody. So if in doubt, just start a new one and then get me across and we'll figure out which one needs to go. Once you're happy, you'll see setting 60-60, termination 5 reps, which is what you'll test, 20-second rest, and then this is just the feedback that you'll get, which you can change later on. And then you just come down to the bottom right, click OK, and now you get this warning. You have selected high torque eccentric settings. Please confirm you want to use those settings. Anything, I can't remember what the cutoff is, but anything I think is above 200 will give you that warning. And that's just for you to be aware that there's a safety issue that you need to be aware of.
And would you say to stick around at 250 maximum?
And see, and if they trip them, if they go over that,
Yeah.
then the machine will just stop them
Okay.
as a safety feature. So that means then you'll have to make a decision about whether you're going to go above it or not. It's not that it's out and out dangerous, it's just the machine's way of warning you that you have selected high settings and there's a risk of injury. I'm just going to select yes for this morning, and that's it. You'll see that the screen's just changed a little bit now, and you've got these traffic lights up here. So this is now where we are to test. So what you can do is you can select which leg you want to use, left or right. You have to select both, and then you're going to either do single set, which is just one of these blue things, or if you've got multiple things, you can click all sets. So if you've got 2 different speeds, click all sets, and then basically the machine will run through each one sequentially until they're done, and then you spin them around and do the same on the other leg. Or you can choose just to run it one at a time and do, but you've got to physically change it from left to right. So we'll go right leg to start with, we'll click single set, and something else pops up. And this now takes you through how to set this up. Ta-da. There they are. In there, you'll find all the attachments. Everything, when you're finished, goes back in there, neatly. But what you'll find on this patient setup screen that pops up is you've got, again, a stepwise 1, 2, 3, and then what to do. So it says position the range of movement stops. These are the range of movement stops. When it prompts you to change or move these are the first things you move. These are your safety features. So if you do go beyond range or anything like that, the machine will butt up against that and it just will not go any further. Okay, so you'll see that it's black U and a green N. That should hopefully correspond. And then just set it there. And what was it? U. Like so. So it's just a little pull out and slide. Happy with that? Yep. It then says attach the input adapters, hip and knee pad, contralateral limb stabilizer, hip and knee adapter, lumbar cushion. If in doubt, double click on it and it'll tell you what it looks like. So it does everything for you, literally. So what you're looking for, that's your hip and knee stabilizer. Funnily enough, it says hip and knee adapter on it. You are looking for one of the pads. That's your hip and knee pad. That's your hip and knee contralateral limb stabilizer. Again, it should say on there, but if not, just look at the picture. And then your lumbar cushion is already in there. Yay. What I don't mind too much is if you happen to leave that on this one. But it's all like a pair of crutches. There should be a hole somewhere on there that'll just mean it'll click in. Like so. So you can now see that that's going to do a knee. And then this one should. Just slide into there. It should just clip into there. So again, if we're doing right leg, that needs to be the left. Easy, yeah? Once you get to that, once you've got all your adapters, you can see the picture of the setup. It's not very clear. And if you preferred words, just click on help and it'll bring up how to prepare it. Again, it'll all become clear once you start doing it and once we've gone through an individual session with you. Okay, but it's all on there. Basically, then what happens is that one amazing, when the guy's serviced it, he's tightened everything. Slots into there and then just tightens up. Okay, and we can faff around with that in a little bit. It then takes you through the setup of the actual machine. So it starts with the chair, then goes on to the dynamometer, that's the dynamometer, and then the adapters. Good thing is, if you change or enter any data in here, so where it says, where there's figures entered or there's blank ones, you can enter a figure. The machine will then remember that for the next time you set it up for the client. So you can just go through it really quickly. So for the chair there, what does it say? Rotation scale 40, green. So there's a lever down here. There's two levers, there's one on each side. If you unlock this one and spin the chair, you can't then lock it through this one. You've got to relock the one that you've unlocked. Move it to where it says green 40, and then just lock it. Happy? So that's the rotation scale. Fore and aft position is one down here on the side, so I know myself if you want to come around here.
Yeah.
There's a lever here, again there should be a lever there, and there should be a load of numbers. You can flick that one, what does it say on the screen, fore and aft? 15. So you just move it to where the red bit says 15 and lock it again. So it's literally just unlock it there, and then there's like a ruler here with the numbers on, set it to 15, unlock it. Okay?
And what's that one called?
That's fore and aft.
Fore and aft.
Back angle, 85. So if I come around this side actually, we've got this lever here, flick it up, and then you could actually, if you want, lie the seat all the way down, set it to roughly 85, and it'll lock then, when it won't lock if you're in the wrong position. And then there is this back translation, which is this one. You can see how that moves it forward. So that might be one that you change depending on the limb length of your person. We'll take that all the way back for now. Okay. The next one it comes down to is the dynamometer. And it says Dyna tilt, which is this one. And basically it's like a crocodile tooth configuration. So you just unlock it, they will come apart, and you can then tilt. So for those of you doing shoulder and hip, you'll probably have to change the tilt depending on who you're testing. So it says 0 on there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Line it up, and then just tighten it up, and the arrow should match the angle. Okay? Make sure it's finger tight. Dyna height and Dyna rotation are done from this lever here, or that lever on that side. And then that will just allow it to spin. Might just need to move that out of the way. Is it 8 and green 40?
Yes.
Yeah.
So from here you can actually, might just need to give it a little bit of a shove. But you're looking at green 40, and then 8, and then just lock it. Okay? Can you now see I've put the adapter on wrong? Yeah? You're not going to be able to. Can you see how this is now going to test a
Where's
knee?
the adapter?
This bit. Can you see how I've done that wrong now? Alright, so that, in reality, has to come out and go that way. The last one you need then, monorail. Okay, which is this one down here. Stand on there. It's 38. Measure it to 38, and there is your setup for a knee. So I will have to move you forward from that fore and aft position, so that they can get a good range of movement on the knee. So if you try and flex your knee now, if you can see, it's going to butt up against the edge of the seat. So it might be just little changes need to be made. Have you seen the word little? Sorry, that was cruel. Is that moving you forward?
Yeah, lower back.
Right, so if you flex now, is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The box in the way, but yeah.
Yeah, so you're pretty clear behind the knee there, that's okay. So now I've changed that to 20. All I would do is just type in fore and aft position. Not fore and aft, sorry. Back translation. 20 in there, and the machine will remember it next time we got Steph on and we were testing. In general, try and line that black dot up with the centre of the joint, roughly. Okay. What you can do as well is there's a measurement on the hip and knee adapter, like a ruler, which we can set, and you can type that figure in there. And this will be the same for the hip, this will be the same for the shoulder. You can type all these figures in, and it'll remember it for the next time. And then don't worry about this Johnson anti-shear. Don't worry about that. But what we will do, now then, depending on what you're testing, depends on where you want your pad. You're going to have to experiment a little bit. So if you're doing quads, I would put this green bit in front of the shin. If you're doing hamstrings, I would put it behind, because that's the muscle you want to measure. That's the one that's going to be able to be pushed against the most. So I'll just do it for like this for today, because you'll be able to see. Tight enough. Yeah. So if you're pushing out to test quads, you're then pushing just against the strap there, which might not be as comfortable. There's a bit more padding. There is this Velcro strap here, which you can then change either side and put across the thigh to hold it down. And then
Go on, put it on.
and then you can tighten all the straps. Yeah. And basically you want to get them as stable as you can, so they're going to be quite uncomfortable in it. There's handles here that you can hold on to during the test, or you can have them fold their arms across their chest. Whatever you do, just do it consistently. Okay, hands across the chest means you'll probably get more work from the muscle, but they're working from a less stable base. So I tend to let them hold on. You really want, if you're going for maximal contraction anyway. Right. So we click OK. It now says set anatomical 0, so you've got to set 0, and this is extension. So you bring the leg up. I tend to say, right, take it as far as you can, but what you'll find is the stop gets in the way there, because that's not quite straight. Would you fall for you? Fair? So what I will allow you to do is just move that stop to, take it to full extension, so hamstrings are starting to kick in there, and then come back a bit. All right? Or if you're more comfortable with the safety, just stop it where that stop is. But I don't mind if you only move it 1 or 2 places, because it's still then safe. Because that's still going to be the limit of extension there. It's not going to do any harm really. But then come back a little bit, come off there. Click. Okay, and that's now set up for 0. So if you move your leg now, Steph, you see the red line moving? Yeah? So this is where you set the range of movement. So if you go to 0 again for me, so it says 0 there, click extension, that's set, bend your knee as much as possible for me. And again, the stop's getting in the way, so you might just need to take it a couple out of the way. Click flexion. It tells you you've got 82 degrees of movement there. So if you're looking at 90 degrees of movement, you're going to have to set it up so you get 90 degrees of movement. You click set range of movement, and the stops have changed again. So before you go any further, check the stops. So is it green, M, and U, okay? Happy with that? So you don't leave this screen until you've readjusted the stops, now that you've set the range of movement. If you get more range of movement, you'll have to open them up a little bit more. If your range of movement's not set or the machine's not sure, that green dot will stay red, which is more for when you turn them around so that you're getting the same movement on the other side. They'll both go green when you've got the range of movement set up exactly the same. All right, once you're there, you click OK, and you come up with another screen. This is where you're going to weigh the limb. And this allows it, you don't have to do this stage, I would, for each thing, because it then works out a load of calculations on the actual reports at the end based on the weight of the limb, and it adjusts for the weight of the limb. So basically what you do is just lift your leg up, there, that's fine, click lock, you can just go heavy, click weigh limb, massive, and then the moment you click unlock, it will literally start moving again. Okay. We've chosen eccentric, please do not go. Yeah? Click OK. Right, and then this is the next screen that pops up. After this, the test will start. So the moment the knee gets extended to 0, the moment it hits 0, we'll go into the trial reps. So this is where you warn them that this is where the testing is about to start. So my advice is, while they're warming, when you get them in, set the machine up, send them away for their warm-up, and then literally sit them back on the machine, almost at this stage, ready to go, because then they don't cool down too much. Okay, so if you straighten your leg out, the moment it hits 0, okay? Right, so this is eccentric, so you're going to have to pull, and then push. Pull, and that's hamstrings, push, and that's quads. So you do the opposite, keep going. Oh, that's it.
Oh, I didn't go forward.
And it won't let you, you have to move through full range, so you've done 2 reps there. And this is why if you're doing eccentric contraction, you do your practice session, and you do your trial reps. That's it.
4.
This tells you, obviously, the graph of how they're generating their force. 30 seconds rest. You might want to do more, especially if you're doing eccentric. But it's quite confusing in eccentric. You don't quite know where to push or pull. So you need to give them enough time to get used to the push and pull for each work set.
Yeah.
And then, there we go.
Go on, Steph.
Push. There we go.
Don't actually
Go on.
push.
Go on. And ideally, you either want each line to beat the last line. So it's up to you. verbal feedback in isokinetics is also being shown to have an influence. So you either give none
4,
or you give lots. That's it, done. So I can let you out now. Side, the machine tells you, so you just go back through the setup screen. Where it's gone green will now go black, and you're just turning everything around. My advice would be when you turn the client, turn them that way, so they're not banging into this. If you're doing left and right leg, if you're just doing one leg, that's absolutely fine. And then you just click all or single sets again, but change that to left, and it just talks you through the whole process again. Yeah? Sorry. Click left, click single set, and you can see there that it's now gone. Instead of green 40, it's gone black 40. You just spin it all around. This is what the screen you will come back to. You can click OK, and that will finish it. That'll finish the test. What you can also do then is just check the report. So you click preview, and this is what will jump up for you. So you can see there each rep, and then it starts spitting out a load of figures. So peak torque, work per repetition, average power per repetition, so on and so forth. Not necessarily, I'll show you now. So if you click OK, not all tests will run. Are you sure you want to exit? That's me saying yes, because I've not done left and right. Because you'll see up here, it says right tested, left error, because we didn't do the left test. We asked it to, but it didn't do it. You will see tested and tested up there if you've had a successful. Click yes, and then you come to this sort of final screen, and so this is every test I've ever done on the machine. So this is all the training basically that I've done, and then it's got the date and the time that it was done, so on and so forth. You can here select the type of report you want. I tend to say select long form torque versus position, preview it, and then this is what it will look like. Okay, so you'll have the graph again, and then you'll have all this peak torque, joint angle at peak torque, range of motion, so on and so forth, and it'll do it for extensors and flexors. And if you've done 60 degrees, you'll have one for 60 degrees per second. If you've done 180 degrees, you'll have one for that. So you'll have a graph on a printout like that for each speed that you've tested. You can print them off. I'd prefer you not to because of paper and so on and so forth. But if you wanted an example to put in your raw data of one client, because it will identify your client on there, that's all. That's fine. What you can do is save it to a memory stick. So if you were to click File, it comes up with the file name down there. You will need a memory stick, but you have to, and I'll take you through this when you're doing your testing if you struggle. Just get your testing done first, and if you're struggling to get it saved, let me know. You will need a file for each person. You can't save it all under one file. So you save it AK1, that one test will go into that, and it comes up as a series of files, and what you have to do is open each one, and eventually you'll get to the full report, because it links then all the files together, and then you can either print it out at home, or you can just save it as that. Okay, but what it allows you to do is get the graph and put the graph in your results as an example or whatever, but we can talk you through that. And then that, click on OK after you've done your saving, whatever, brings you right back to the start screen and you're good to go again.